Welcome to today's explainer. Let's just dive right in, shall we? I want you to picture this. You step out into your yard on a warm summer evening, and suddenly you're hit with this intoxicating, sweet citrus scent drifting through the air. You look over and you see these dazzlingly elegant snow-white clusters of flowers. Well, today we are decoding the absolute best secrets to growing one of the most beloved backyard plants out there, the garden jasmine. You know, this plant has a legendary allure. Its fragrance literally grabs your attention before you've even spotted the flowers themselves. It creates such a lasting impression in early summer. And the best part, today, I'm promising you an absolutely foolproof masterclass. Seriously, whether you are a total beginner who's never picked up a trowel or a seasoned gardener, this guide is going to give you the exact step-by-step formula for success. But okay, before we get our hands dirty, we really need to talk about what I like to call the great jasmine deception. Did you know that the beloved, incredibly hardy shrub we all call garden jasmine isn't actually a jasmine at all? Nope, it's a total botanical imposter. True jasmine actually belongs to the olive family. Our hero today, which is botanically known as Philadelphus or mock orange, is actually a proud member of the hydrangea family. Crazy, right? So here is our roadmap for today. We'll cover the garden jasmine mystery, perfect placement in soil, watering and feeding strategies, pruning for bountiful blooms, managing pests and diseases, and then we'll wrap up with a summary and final thoughts. All right, part 1, the garden jasmine mystery. So, why on earth is this so-called imposter actually the superior, hassle-free choice for so many of us? Well, it all comes down to its extreme cold hardiness. See, while true jasmine will often freeze at the first sign of a chill, Philadelphus easily survives harsh, freezing winters. We're talking temperatures all the way down to minus 25 degrees Celsius. It's a completely fuss-free, fast-growing shrub that rewards you lavishly without needing any winter protection whatsoever. It is basically the plant equivalent of a very low-maintenance best friend. Moving right along to part 2, perfect placement and soil. Getting this shrub into the ground is incredibly straightforward. First, you want to choose a sunny to semi-shaded spot. Lots of sun guarantees you the absolute maximum amount of blooms. When you're ready, dig a hole that's twice as wide as the root ball to give those roots plenty of room to stretch out, and mix some well-rotted compost into the soil you use to fill it back in. But hey, pay close attention to this crucial detail. If you choose a variety with golden leaves, like the aureus, you absolutely must provide afternoon shade. If you don't, that intense summer sun will literally scorch its delicate foliage. Now, what if you've just planted your garden jasmine and suddenly the leaves are wilting and turning yellow? This is a super classic worry for beginners who see immediate stress on their new plant. Well, here is your quick, actionable fix. The culprit is almost always poor drainage. Philadelphus develops this shallow, horizontal root system that absolutely demands light, well-draining soil. If you plant it in heavy, dense clay that just traps all the water, the roots literally suffocate. They lose oxygen and they begin to rot. You always have to ensure that water can drain away freely. Okay, let's jump into part 3, watering and feeding strategies. There is a pretty massive contrast in how you treat this plant across the different seasons. During the active growth of spring and summer, newly planted shrubs want regular, deep watering to build up their roots. And you can absolutely add some spring fertilizer. But listen closely, this is vital. Strictly no late feeding after midsummer. Why? Because nitrogen pushes the plant to create new growth. If you feed it late, those young, weak shoots simply won't have time to harden off, and they will freeze solid the second winter hits. Now here's another very specific, common concern you might run into. It's known botanically as linear chlorosis. Basically, the leaves turn yellow, but the veins stay perfectly green. It looks pretty scary, but it's actually an easy symptom to decode. The solution here is super simple. This specific yellowing means the plant isn't absorbing iron. You can fix this by applying chelated iron right to the soil. But actually, more importantly, you need to check your water. If you water with freezing cold, hard water straight from the hose, you shock the roots, and that literally blocks their ability to absorb vital nutrients like iron. Always try to use soft, slightly warmed water whenever you can. All right, part 4, pruning for bountiful blooms. I know pruning can be the most intimidating step for any gardener, but please don't be afraid of the shears. It really just comes down to 3 empowering steps. First, timing is everything. Prune right after the summer blooming finishes. Step 2, just clean out any crossing or dead branches to let air flow freely through the plant. Finally, step 3. To rejuvenate the plant, bravely thin out 1 in every 5 of the oldest, thickest branches all the way down to the base. That right there is the secret to an open, healthy, thriving shrub. But what if your garden jasmine didn't bloom at all this year? You wait all year long, and you just end up with a green bush without a single flower. It's the ultimate gardener's heartbreak. So what went wrong? Well, this is where that critical timing error we literally just talked about comes into play. Garden jasmine blooms on old wood. So if you grab your shears late in the fall or early in the spring, you are accidentally cutting off the flower buds that have already formed for the upcoming season. Remember, we only ever prune immediately after the flowers fade in the summer. That brings us to part 5, managing pests and diseases. Now, while garden jasmine is incredibly resilient, it does occasionally attract sap feeders, like aphids and spider mites, tiny little bugs that cause the new leaves to curl up. You've got choices here between chemical and organic controls, but we always prefer starting with easy, at-home organic methods. A simple solution of soapy water or natural neem oil works wonders for keeping these pests away without harming the environment. And what if you notice a white, almost dusty coating on top of the leaves? It usually pops up in humid weather and looks exactly like someone sprinkled flour all over your plant. That powdery look is a super common fungal issue called powdery mildew. The key to fixing this organically is all about air circulation. If your shrub is too dense, it traps moisture, and fungi just absolutely thrive in there. So thin it out, stop overwatering the soil, and spray the leaves with a really easy homemade mix of 1 part vinegar to 10 parts water. Oh, and please always remember to disinfect your pruning shears so you don't accidentally spread those spores to the rest of your garden. And finally, part 6, summary and final thoughts. Let's quickly recap the major takeaways so you can walk away feeling totally confident. First, know your species. Remember, you're growing the ultra-hardy Philadelphias, not a true jasmine. Second, always plant in well-draining soil to avoid root rot. Third, absolutely halt your feeding by midsummer. And fourth, master the art of pruning by doing it immediately after those gorgeous flowers drop. With just these 4 pillars, you are perfectly equipped to cultivate this stunning plant. One last pro tip before you go. Local conditions always have the final say. Make sure to consult with your local nursery experts because your yard's specific microclimate or unforeseen regional factors might mean you need to make slight tweaks to this care routine. I really hope you found this explainer helpful. And, it makes me wonder, now that we've uncovered the jasmine deception, what other deceptive, completely misnamed plants might be hiding out in your garden right now? Until next time, happy gardening!